Hi, I'm Sherry, and this is Gardening in the North. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. If you've been here before and you're continuing to like the content that I'm putting out on my channel, please hit that subscribe button below to show me your support. Today, I'm going to be working on the food forest, stage 3. Now, this is going to be a very busy day because I'm going to try and get everything done that I need to get done today because the weather is supposed to be the nicest today. And when I say the nicest, it's about 5. So it's still pretty chilly out here. But tomorrow, I don't think we're going to have the sun. So I have to make sure that I get it all done today. So some of the things that I want to do is move some of our perennials to the food forest. And some of those are our volunteer raspberries that I have here in front of me. I have a couple containers of strawberries. I have a couple containers of garlic and onion chives. I have a ton of mint, and who doesn't like mint in the summertime, especially when it's mojito mint. And I'm hoping I can get my sweaty little hands on some perennial kale. Now, if I can't get it in time to put it into this video, I definitely will do another video where I show you how to propagate it, how you have to break the stems off, and how to pot it. As well as I'm going to try and actually grow it straight from the plant that I take it from and into the ground. I'm hoping that it'll still take, but we'll see. It'll be an experiment, let's say that. I also have a bag of Mexican purple garlic, which is supposed to be really spicy garlic, and I thought that would be great to plant with the raspberries. It's a great companion plant for the raspberries. So we're going to do that. Right now I'm in front of the raspberries here, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of a backstory on these raspberries. So a couple years ago, I went to an auction nearby and purchased, I think it was about 15 raspberry plants, and they didn't look good, but the price was good. So I knew that if some of them didn't make it through the season, that would be fine because, again, the price was good. It was still going to be good even if I lost some of them. So the auction was in the fall, and I had already prepped the area in anticipation of purchasing raspberry plants. I had laid down some cardboard. I had then laid down really good compost with 2-year-old horse manure, and then I covered it in wood chips. So I think I did that roughly 2 months prior to knowing that I was going to be going to this auction. So when I purchased those raspberry plants and brought them out here and, started planting them here, that cardboard had already started to really decompose, and the dirt and earth that was beneath it was amazing. So I planted them all in. I roped it off so that, in the springtime, I would have this really nice raspberry patch going. The only problem is that nothing really grew. I think I lost about half of the plants that spring, and the ones that didn't die looked like they were going to die. That fall came, and again, nothing was going on. I barely got any leaves off of them. Second spring comes, and I decide that, you know what, I don't think these plants are really going to make it, the 5 or 6 that I had left. So I dug them up and I planted them around the pool fence as a last ditch effort. Now, I decided that this area here would be better suited for tomatoes. So last spring, I planted about 25 tomato plants in this area. And as my tomato plants started to grow, so did these volunteer raspberry plants. I was in shock because it basically took these plants 2 years to finally start growing. Now, the ones that I had transplanted, again, I was in complete shock because they actually grew, had beautiful leaves on them, and produced berries for me. Not only did they produce berries once, but twice. It was amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these plants, and I'm going to move these into the food forest so that I have 2 different areas for raspberries, and I can keep this current area that I have for my tomatoes. So before I start digging up these raspberry plants, I just wanted to share with you that I came out here to start moving all of the raspberry plants and all of the other things into the food forest, and realized that I had left a ton of onions still in the ground. This is the amazing thing about having a garden, because even when you think you're done, you're not done. You'll come out here and there will be amazing surprises all the time. Okay, so I was able to dig out 14 volunteer raspberry plants. That's crazy. And I probably have a handful left over there, but they're pretty puny, and to be completely honest, it was freezing out when I came out here originally to dig those out. And after I dug out the 14 of them, I had to go inside for about an hour. My hands were burning, they were so cold. So I'm back out here, and I have some nice knitted gloves underneath my gardening gloves, and I have a hat on now, so hopefully I can make it through the next part of what I want to do with the raspberry plants. I have looked ahead at the weather forecast, and I think it's supposed to get nicer later in the week, so I may need to postpone the rest of stage 3 until then. But we'll see how far I get today with it only being 3 out right now. So I want to talk a little bit about where I'm putting my raspberry plants. So the great thing about raspberry plants is that they can thrive and produce a lot of berries, whether they're in partial shade or full sun. So part of my food forest doesn't get full sun, and so I'm going to utilize that area and plant my raspberry plants there, because I know that they're going to produce for me anyways. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, but what is the difference in the taste in the berry? Well, the ones that you grow in full sun are only slightly sweeter than the ones that you grow in partial shade. So really, if you can utilize some of your area that isn't full sun, why wouldn't you do it? I have raspberry plants in the back around the pool area, and now I'm going to have some here. So I'm going to have a mixture of both, berries being grown in the back and the front. Now, I want to tell you about what I'm going to be doing here. So I am actually going to be digging 10 holes. I pulled out or dug out 14 raspberry plants, but some of them were a little bit smaller, and so I'm going to group them together. So I need to dig 10 holes. I'm actually going to remove some of the grass and put it on the west side of the hole to act as a berm. That way, when it rains in the summertime, there will be a little bit of a hill there to catch the water, so that the water doesn't just drain away and those raspberry plants won't get any water. So I'm going to use that grass that I remove as a berm. I'm then going to plant my raspberries. I have some really good compost that I'm going to put in the hole with them. I'm then going to cover it all with cardboard. So even though I'm using the grass as a berm, I'm still going to cover it and turn it into compost in that area. So I'm going to cover it with cardboard, and then I'm going to lay down all the used coffee grounds that I've been saving up for the past 2 weeks. Now, I know that there are some mixed opinions on used coffee grounds, and that, you know, people think that one opinion is that you should use them, and one opinion is that, you know, using them isn't safe or isn't good for your plants because they're very, they have a high level of acid in them. But that high level of acid was used when you made your coffee. And really, the used coffee grounds are basically neutral. But the good thing that those coffee grounds provide is nitrogen. And raspberry plants love nitrogen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out the used coffee grounds and the filters that I used around those plants on top of the cardboard. And then I'm going to cover it with wood chips. And the reason I'm doing that is so that when that cardboard breaks down And you know, 6-7 months from now, when the weather starts to get nicer and the raspberry plants actually need nitrogen, it will be there waiting for them. So that's my plan. I'm going to get to it. I am going to video every step of it, and then I will speed it up so that you don't have to sit there for an hour watching me dig holes. So before I completely cover all the cardboard in wood chips, I'm actually going to plant my garlic in with the raspberries. So I did the holes big enough and I put enough compost in there that I can slip in 2 garlic cloves per plant. So I have this here, which is the Mexican purple garlic. It is hard neck. Now, if you don't know the difference between the hard neck and the soft neck, I just want to show you that when you break apart the garlic head, when you have a piece in the middle, the neck, and it's hard like this, you know that your shoots that come out of your garlic are going to be straight and tall, and they're going to stay like that even after the garlic matures. Whereas with soft neck, as soon as that garlic is matured, those green shoots that have come up and look so pretty in your garden are actually going to fall over, and sometimes you can't find them. And that's exactly what happened to me with my onions. I had gone out there and picked them all, and you saw from the earlier clip that I was able to find 10 more that I didn't know were there, because you know the soft neck and the paper and everything turns to the same kind of brown that the wood chips are. So I'm going to plant these in with my raspberries, and they're pretty big. You can see that there. And I have 19 of these, so I'm going to put 2 in each one, and then the last one will just get 1. Now that the raspberries are done and all the garlic has been planted in with the raspberries, we're on to strawberries. So this big barrel here was in my backyard up on one of the rocks, and the idea was to have strawberries growing over the rocks. Thought it would be really pretty looking, except that it was the personal buffet to 2 of our little chipmunks that live on the property here with us. And we didn't get not 1 strawberry off of this plant here. We got strawberries off of our other plants, but none from this one. So needless to say, that chipmunk is probably going to be very upset when he comes back next year looking for strawberries. So we're going to plant this here right beside our empire tree, and kind of on the edge of where we're doing the food forest to start. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig the hole. I'm going to take this out of the barrel that I have it in and plant it into that hole with a lot of new compost. Now this particular strawberry plant has a lot of runners. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the actual mother plant planted, and then I'm going to lay down the cardboard, and on top of the cardboard I'm going to put a bunch of compost. And the reason for that is I want to actually plant those runners right into that compost, and then I'm going to cover around them with wood chips so that as they grow next year, they'll be able to grow their roots and make a good home there. So here's a look at the strawberry plant I just planted. So I dug the hole, I put more compost inside. I planted that strawberry plant. I then covered it with cardboard and fresh compost so that I could put those runners right into the compost so that they can start growing a nice root system. Now I've put more cardboard beside it, which I'm going to cover everything with wood chips. The idea is that this whole area here that I'm showing you right now eventually will be strawberries. So all next summer, every time I get a runner from this plant, I will start expanding. And then I'm just going to show you that we're on the other side of where those raspberry bushes are. And the idea is that where this strawberry plant, or where the strawberry patch ends, we're actually going to start turning the forest, and we're going to start moving it down in between the maples and the house. Let's talk about chives. Chives are a perennial plant that people often forget about or overlook. Now, I'm not really sure why people forget about them or overlook them, and the only thing I can think of is that because we all plant onions and garlic in our gardens, and so maybe the reason is that people just don't think that they need chives, but it's a perennial. You don't have to plant it every year. So anything that you can benefit from, bring into your kitchen and use in any of the meals you're making or anything that you're preserving that you don't have to plant year after year, I say hooray, let's plant it. Let's talk about some of the benefits of this particular perennial, the chive. Now, it has a root system that grows horizontally very slowly. That to me is a benefit. The reason I say that is that I could plant that really anywhere in my garden, in my food forest or in my garden, and know that it's not going to take over wherever I plant it. It's not going to become invasive and really, sniffle out whatever else it's planted near. The other thing that it's really good for doing is repelling aphids. Now, I don't know about you, but if you had any trouble with aphids this year, plant chives. So one of the things that I read about the chives is that they will repel aphids from your grapes. So if you have any grapes, or if you're planning on planting grapes, buy and plant chives near them. So today I'm going to be planting my chives near my strawberries because my strawberries are going to really take over and expand with all of their runners, and I'm looking forward to that. But I think that having chives in and amongst my strawberries will add a really nice design element, as well as spreading out the benefits of the chives with the strawberries. So I'm going to get to it. I have 2 containers of chives that I'm going to plant, 2 containers of onion chives that I'm going to plant, and I have a 3rd container that has garlic chives in it. So I'm going to get planting them, cover them up with the cardboard and the wood chips, because again, that's the whole idea of starting this food forest on top of my grass, is that I am not removing the grass whatsoever. So come with me. So I'm out of wood chips and I have to go do another wood chip run. However, I thought I would utilize the time that I have right now to continue planting the things that I want to plant in my food forest, and then I can go get the wood chips, bring them back, and cover everything. So the next thing that I want to plant in my food forest is comfrey. Now, I don't know if any of you know much about comfrey, but there are various kinds of comfrey. And when you're selecting comfrey for your garden, you want to make sure that you're selecting Bocking 14. It's from Bocking, England, and it has a sterile seed, which means that it's not invasive. You want to make absolutely sure that you know what kind of comfrey you're buying before you plant it in your garden. There have been horror stories out there about people planting comfrey and it overtaking everything, and once you plant it, you can't get rid of it. So please be careful. Make sure that if you're going to plant Comfrey, it is Bocking 14, which is you can only propagate Comfrey, Bocking 14 Comfrey, if you actually dig it up, cut the root, and plant a piece of that root. That's the only way you can do it. Now, let's talk about the benefits of having Comfrey everywhere. So Comfrey has a taproot that will actually drill down further than any other of your perennials or annuals. And so what that means is that it is grabbing all those nutrients and minerals that the other plants can't get at, and then it grows them out into their leaves. And those leaves are the moneymaker. Those leaves are your natural mulch. It is a super mulch. And so what you do once that plant starts growing is you rip off those leaves, and you don't need to be gentle because that plant is hardy. You rip off those leaves and you actually throw those leaves around your trees, your shrubs, anything that you have there, because all those nutrients that those plants and trees couldn't get to are now in those leaves. And you want to make sure that you're giving everything else in your food forest and your gardens what they couldn't get themselves. Now, one thing that I did learn about Comfrey is that chickens love Comfrey. The minute I heard that, I was over the moon, because I already love having Comfrey in my gardens. And so we are currently in the process of putting together a plan of getting chickens in the springtime. So we're making sure that we have our location for the run, for the coop, you know, where are we going to get them, making sure that, you know, we have what we need, the supplies and everything that we need once we bring those chicks home, and grow them inside for a little bit, and then, you know, show them their new home. And so the minute I heard that chickens love Comfrey, I was all over that. So I am going to be propagating some of the Comfrey that we already have and putting some in the food forest behind me. I'm probably going to slowly be adding it throughout the front yard, not just in the area that we're currently working on, but a little bit everywhere, because I just think that if chickens really like it and it is a free source of nutrients for them, then I want to grow more of it. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to head out to the back where I have all of my Comfrey, you know, scattered throughout, and I'm going to start digging up some of those, bring them back here, and start planting them. I was just about to plant the Comfrey and thought that I would stop for a second because I wanted to show you what the actual taproot of the Comfrey looks like. Like, look at how long that is. Now, I was lucky when I pulled this out. The soil was quite soft. We've had a lot of rain. So when I started to dig this up, it came up pretty easy. But can you believe this? So essentially what I could do with this is break pieces off of this root and plant them in the food forest. And next year, Comfrey plants will grow. It's pretty amazing. Early in my video, I talked about how I was going to be planting mint in my food forest as well. And I'm still going to be doing that, except that I'm going to be doing that in a separate video. I noticed when I went back there to look at the mint that I can actually harvest some seeds from it before digging up part of it and moving it. So I want to do that. I want to share with you how I'm going to do that. As well, I'm going to add into that video harvesting my kohlrabi, which I noticed is ready. So I want to share those two things with you in a separate video, because I think this video here is getting pretty full and pretty long, and I want to make sure that I'm not monopolizing all your time on this video. I also mentioned in my earlier in this video that I was hoping to get my hands on some perennial kale. Now, I wasn't able to as of yet. I'm still working on it, but as soon as I do, I will also share that with you. I hope that you can see the new wood chipped area. You can see the cardboard sticking out there. So that whole area was not planned. That just happened because I was able to grab some of the perennials from the backyard and decided that this is where I was going to plant them. So there's the strawberries. And then we have our onion chives over here. And we got more onion chives up there. And down here, we have 2 little comfrey plants. That is a wrap. It is getting dark out here, and I've got to head inside and have some dinner. So I've used up the second load of wood chips that I had gone and got today, and I'm gonna need more. You just don't realize how big of an area you're using when you're laying down the cardboard. You just think that you're laying down a piece here, a piece there, but it ends up being a huge amount of space. So I'm happy to say that I was able to plant strawberries, raspberries, chives, comfrey, all for free in my food forest. And I say free because all of it was from my backyard, stuff that I had propagated and, you know, divided and was able to bring to my food forest for free. Thanks for spending time with me.